In this video, I'm going to take you to a development site, and joining me on this coach here right now is over 200 of my students who are coming along as first-time developers jumping into development. If you're joining me for the first time, my name is Cam Dwivedi. I'm a property investor developer over the last 35 years, and over the last 10 years, I've trained over 200,000 people to help them to create their financial economies through property investing. Now, come along and join us. I'm going to share with you solid insights on how you can become a developer and take your development investing to the next level. So come and join me now. Come on in, guys, come on in. Come on in, come on in. So this is the 3 offices that we're converting into 2 residential units, all within permitted development. And we're using Class MA, a permitted development right, 100% guaranteed planning permission to be able to do this. There is a tick box criteria. As long as it fits the criteria, you don't have to ask for planning. It is 100% guaranteed. When you're dealing with permitted development, one of the really important things is always start with the planning consultant, never the architect. So the planning consultant is black and white. They will look at the policy, understand the policy. They will be able to give you the detail of whether you can do something or whether you can't do something. So it was confirmed that we can convert. Now, also be aware that with planning policy, there are 2 types within permitted development. There is a local plan and there is a national plan. So the national plan is national government saying, yeah, go ahead and do this. Local plan is the specific councils that you're dealing with who will have a different criteria. So you've got to be careful of these, right? That your national plan can be different to your local plan. The commercial units as they were originally, they looked like lovely 3 one-bedroom flats. There wasn't really much to do. However, the use class order was different. So that was a use class E. The designation for the property was that it was offices. And in order for it to be residential, it needs to be use class C3. Some of you remember, right? C3. So although the units looked like they were lovely residential units, they weren't residential. So we had to do this. And in order to do that, in order to change them into residential, we have to look into planning, or you have to look into permitted development. So we looked at the planning, but for planning, and this will be typical with most councils, they will require that commercial unit not to have been used for a period of time. So there is a common sense approach to it because they want to retain commercial units. They don't want those commercial units being changed into residential if there's a use for the commercial unit. So we have to demonstrate that this commercial unit can't be rented for 2 years, which is a very big ask because we are in the centre of London and there is a huge demand for commercial units. So the planning policy, the planning wasn't going to happen in that way. Because there's no way for 2 years that we wouldn't have been able to rent this property out. Yeah. So what we had to do is look at different options. So the second option was permitted development. So within permitted development, it's a different set of rules. It's a tick box scenario. And for that, this conformed to that. So we used a permitted development right known as Class MA. So MA is taking typically a use class E scenario and turning it into residential C3. Lots of numbers and letters there. So that's what we're doing here right now. So for that reason, we couldn't have the 3, we had to have the 2. What happened is the architects said, right, we've got to put in 200 mil insulation above the floor that we've already got. Now that creates another problem. The challenge there is that once you raise the floor, you've then also got to raise the doors and you've got to raise all the windows. And of course, this is the real site. This is not drawn on paper. This is a physical site, right? So what ends up happening here then is we end up doing a lot of work extra that you wouldn't normally need to do. We've also got to then raise the ceiling as well. Yeah. Now, this is where a good contractor comes into play. Yeah. Because if you're doing the average thing, the average does not work. Yeah. You might know what you're doing. You might learn what to do if you don't know what you're doing. But when it comes to the actual nitty-gritty of the actual site, what you do practically, there's always ways of value engineering the cost down. So our contractor, he said, why are we doing this? We want to minimize the costs. So we sat down together, the contractor and myself, and we discussed this. And we came up with a solution where rather than putting the extra insulation on top, we said it would be much more beneficial to actually dig down further into the ground, remove the rubble from there, and then put the insulation into there. Now you might think that's a very simple thing to do. It's simple when someone's actually said it to you. It's not that simple when you haven't thought about it. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And every project is always different. You've got to keep that in mind. You're always learning practically on every single project. The contractor and myself, we sat down together and we discussed this, and we said to the architects, this is what we're going to do. We confirmed it with building control. Building control, just for clarity, is not what you're going to do, because that's planning or permitted development. Building control is more about how you're going to do this. Yeah. So we had the conversation with the building control, and building control, yeah, we're happy with you digging down further, and we need to put in a further 100 mil of insulation into the ground, which means we don't need to lift up the doors, we don't need to lift up the windows, and we don't need to lift the ceiling. Now, let me share with you what the difference is. That's £120,000 saved. So you can notice this is all insulation, and this will actually go into the ground. You can see here, you won't normally see it after it's finished, and this is required for the UV values so that the EPC requirements will be met. See, the profit is really made when you learn the detail within the detail. And one of the detail that you really need to understand is how to value engineer your costs down, because average does not work. Now, this would typically be £2,200 a square meter when it comes to actually doing the works. However, we've got it down to £1,800 a square meter, which is a big difference. Now, how we done that is by value engineering your cost down. You always want to make sure that you do that for every single project, because that's where your profit is. That's why it's really important to have a team around you that can help you with this when you're actually on site. Yeah, and obviously you start somewhere, but trust me, average does not work. So this is exactly what we're doing right now. And building control, remember, are going to be the companies that actually signs off the work. That's where you get the surety that you're going to get that use class of C3, that the works have been done correctly, because building control are signing it off and ticking it off as the work has been done. So if they're saying we are happy with it, well, then everybody's happy with it. If you want to become a developer, you're wanting to get into this, then you can download a workbook, which is available here right now. And you can get this for free as you're part of our community. You look at that wall over there, there's a cutaway. So rather than putting a steel beam there, which will be very costly because the costs have gone up, of course, the cost of living crisis is happening for everything, is happening for materials as well. Material costs have doubled over the last 36 months. So instead of a steel beam, which will be extremely costly, we're going to be putting a lintel in there, a concrete lintel, which will be sufficient to do what we want to be doing. Because that wall is not a structural wall, and we don't have to remove the whole wall and put a bracing there and all of that stuff, which the architects actually recommended. We've done it in this way. And we've confirmed that with building control, which is all about health and safety. Are you doing the right thing? And yes, we're doing the right thing. And that saves you a lot of money as well. So in this way, you always want to be able to value engineer your costs down, which saves you a lot of money. So these are some learnings there. I hope you're enjoying this video. One favor I have to ask you, and this is the only favor I'll ever ask you, is if you haven't already subscribed to our channel and you're enjoying these videos, then please subscribe. It helps our community to grow, and it helps to get our message out there that, you know, in these difficult situations out there, that you can create your financial economy through property investing and property developing. So the pipework that here, what we'll have here, we'll have a DPM, a damp-proof membrane, is keeping away damp, of course. This is stuff that you don't normally see in a property, so you're seeing it raw as it is before we put all that there. So over here we've got soil pipes that were already here existing for the original toilet, and although that was a commercial property, we could still use it for residential, so another cost saving there. Remember, you're value engineering the cost down, so we're going to use and retain the old soil pipes, which is absolutely fine. So that's not extra work you have to do. So it's money saving there. On the other side of the road we have Southwark, and in Southwark they've stripped out the permitted development rights. So you can't do it on the other side of the road. And even this is a hack, because you can find places and areas where on one side is Article 4, on another street there is no Article 4 when it comes to permitted development rights. And just for clarity, Article 4 means that there are certain rules that come in place where what they'll say is apply for planning, and then your planning will typically get declined. So now we are over here, we're in Lambeth, it's Article 4 is still okay. We can still do what we want to do, and that's what we're doing. Now, on this occasion, a useful point is they will require you to confirm that you can't rent the property out as it is before you convert it. And in a sought after location like this, what you'll find is that there are people knocking on the door to rent the property out. And they want you to prove this for 2 years that you can't rent the property out if you want to convert. So the reason upstairs can't be bedrooms is because of permitted development. It needs to be storage above. Because the upstairs angles like this, and the parts of the angles on either side, that is not usable space according to permitted development. So it actually falls short of what we want to used for the space upstairs. So for that reason, it's got to be storage. Now, these staircases on either side, the way the architect had designed it, we were to remove these and put in roof hatches. However, what we've done is we've kept those here. So whoever then occupies this property, they can decide to use the storage as they wish, can't they? So it can't be a bedroom. However, it's free space for them to use as they wish, as long as it's not a bedroom kind of scenario. So you're going to give the keys to someone, you're going to rent the place out, and you're going to say the upstairs is not a bedroom with storage. There you go. Good luck. Enjoy. We went into a nice, easy, permitted development conversion of 3 offices into 2 flats. The profit margin there, in terms of real numbers, is over £300,000 in profit and value £1.2 million. If you want to become a developer, you're wanting to get into this, then you can download a workbook, which is available here right now, and you can get this for free as you're part of our community. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel and you're enjoying these videos, then please subscribe. It helps our community to grow, and it helps to get our message out there that, you know, in these difficult situations out there, that you can create your financial economy through property investing and property developing, where you have your own financial economy, where you're not relying on a job, you're not relying on another business. You can actually make this work through property. So if you haven't already subscribed, now's the time to subscribe. And I look forward to hearing your comments, any suggestions that you've got. Do feel free to write those in. Any questions you have, I personally take a look at those questions and your comments, and I'll see you on the next video.